Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That D Plus Show. Class is in session for the only show from that nerdy site that lets you know what kind of quality to expect right from the name. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and each week we dive into a different Disney Plus offering and discuss its history, how it holds up today, and our general impressions. If you like the show, we would love it if you like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Joining me today, as always, Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cameron?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
What's going on is today we're going to be talking all about Treasure Planet. Why'd we pick it? Because I've never seen this one before. This very much falls in this era of Disney where I'm like late high school, so it's like not the coolest thing, and I really only watched like a movie or two in this era in the like late high school, early college era of my life, and then I would come back into Disney fandom stuff later on. So I was like, hey, as we're winding down the podcast here, might as well use this as an opportunity to jump into some of these that I'd never actually seen before. Also, the upcoming Cloudward Ho season of Dimension 20 seems to have some Treasure Planet meets, Atlantis the Lost Empire vibes, with, a full steampunk kind of aesthetic to it. So, let's see. History lesson. This was originally released November 27th, 2002. So yeah, I was a senior in high school when this came out. Other releases of the time, we had Jackass the Movie, October 25th, 2002. Then we had The Santa Claus 2, November 1st. 8 Mile, November 8th. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, November 15th. Die Another Day, shout out to Logan, November 22nd. Treasure Planet came out alongside 8 Crazy Nights here on November 27th, which was the Thanksgiving release of that year. Then we had the unlikely sequel, Analyze That, December 6th.
That's right. Oh, wow, yeah.
December 13th brought a very packed day with movies for kind of everybody. We had the Jack Nicholson movie about Schmidt. We had Drumline, which I remember loathing when I was in high school because I was in Drumline and I was like, that's not realistic. We had Made in Manhattan and Star Trek Nemesis all there on December 13th. Then a few days later, Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, December 18th. Gangs of New York, December 20th. Catch Me If You Can and The Pianist were that year's Christmas offerings on December 25th, followed shortly by Chicago there on December 27th. In the box office breakdown of things, the film had a domestic gross of $38.1 million. Where do you think that falls domestically here in 2002, Cameron?
Ooh, I mean, I know it doesn't do well. Like, it's notoriously, like, part of an era that is, like, post-Disney Renaissance. It's kind of the poster child for the big swings that don't make it.
It is seemingly defined as the experimental era of Disney.
Yeah. And like we'll get into it when we talk about it a little bit later, but that definitely holds true. Yeah, this one I'm guessing it's like, gosh, if we're talking those film, like the other films that it came out around, I'm gonna guess it's like number 13.
13. Oh, you were so wishful thinking. 13 was Scooby-Doo.
Shoot.
With $153.2 million.
Yeah, shoot. Okay, so we're talking like maybe 23.
23 was 8 Mile, $116.7 million.
Okay.
We're looking for $38.1 million is where this one landed.
God, oh, gosh. Okay. 56th?
56 was The Hours, which I think is Nicole Kidman. 41.6 million. So we are still worse than 56.
62?
62, The Master of Disguise, which I believe was the Dana Carvey one.
Yeah, the Dana Carvey.
Like, turtle.
Yeah.
40.3 million. So that movie did better than this one.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. 65?
65, The Wild Thornberrys movie, 40.1 million.
Gosh, 69. Let's go with a nice number there.
69, nice indeed, is Treasure Planet with 38.1.
Hey, at least it's got that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's bad. That's real bad.
We'll come back to the domestic gross here, so I can have you kind of guess the top 10 of that year. But worldwide, the movie does a little bit better worldwide here in 2002, $91.8 million. Where do you think it falls in the worldwide box office?
Worldwide box office. 36, maybe, with that much.
36 was Spy Kids 2: The Island of Lost Dreams, 119.7 million.
Okay. 45.
45, The Tuxedo. I think Jackie Chan.
That's Jackie Chan,
Jackie
yeah.
Chan and
Jackie
Jennifer
Chan,
Love Hewitt?
Jennifer Love Hewitt, yeah.
Yeah, $104.4 million.
The Tuxedo made more money than this.
Yep. I mean,
Jackie
Jackie
Chan.
Chan was a
Yeah,
global-
it's a notoriously terrible film, but Jackie Chan is in it. So, this is actually towards the end of kind of like this is the like post, Bronx Tale, etc. of Jackie Chan's career. Or sorry, Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Let's go ahead and say 49.
49, you've landed on The Hours once again. 97.0 million. So a little bit worse than The Hours.
53.
53 was The Rookie with maybe Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid, yeah, the Rookie.
It was $80.4 million.
So better than Rookie.
Yep.
Okay. So what did I say? 53. So bumping it down. Let's go ahead and go to 50.
50 was 40 Days and 40 Nights.
Oh.
At $95.0 million.
So 51.
51 indeed, yeah.
40 Days and 40 Nights. That's the Lent film about a dude who gives up sex for Lent.
No, different film. This was this was Josh Hartnett. Okay.
Yep, Josh Hartnett,
It does not look like Josh Hartnett in the poster that I'm looking at right here.
Totally fair.
But yeah, that was the first one I thought too. So I was like, it looks like Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman in the poster, but yeah, that was indeed that film. So yeah, Treasure Planet 51 at $91.8 million.
Looking back on it, that film is horribly problematic on so many levels.
The 40 and 40 Nights? Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like I just remember I was like, what's the twist that I always made me feel uncomfortable when I was younger? I was like, oh yeah, that happened. And it's like not really addressed well. So yeah, no, that's a problematic movie. Anyway, on to non-problematic movies.
So in 2002, do you want to take some guesses as the top 10 movies of that year domestically?
I mean, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is going to be number 1.
It was not number 1. No.
Number 2?
Nope. That was number 4. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, number 4 with 263 million domestically. Remember, domestic, yeah. Worldwide, it bumps up to number 2, but
Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 1.
Is
Spider-Man. The number 1 movie of this year.
Yeah, it's
404 million.
Yeah.
In 2002. So we got a few others, and a couple of them I did mention in the other movies around this time.
Sure. Let me. I mean, Jackass the movie.
No, Jackass the movie was down in the 50s.
Okay, I was I'm looking at the list of it, and it's like, oh, dude,
Jackass the movie was number 45.
Let me put it out there. Lord of the Rings: Two Towers.
That was number 2. Yep. 345 million.
Gangs of New York probably.
Gangs of New York, no.
No, it's I need to stay away from the rated R films that I'm.
I mean, not necessarily rated R, but you got to remember box office versus critical acclaim.
Yeah. Let me see here.
I'll give you a hint. Think of some other franchises that may have had 2002 releases.
I mean, Die Another Day, I'm guessing, because it's James Bond.
Die Another Day, number 12, just outside the top 10.
Let's see here. Other things that are franchises at the time. Transformers?
I don't think Transformers is yet.
No, it's not. Okay.
I think that's while I'm in college.
Okay. Same year as Two Towers.
Big, 2002, big franchise that we've done a series.
Attack of the Clones?
Yes, Attack of the Clones, 2002.
That's right, okay.
Number 3. So yeah, we've got Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings, Attack of the Clones, and Chamber of Secrets. There are our top 4. Number 5 is going to be a wild one that's oh yeah, that took the world by storm, but it was probably one of the biggest independent films of all time at this point in time.
Blair Witch Project?
No. We'll say it is about it's about a big family and celebration.
Oh, My Big Fire Week Wedding.
Indeed,
yeah,
yes.
that movie was cultural.
Yeah,
that was a cultural phenomenon.
241 million.
I don't know how to explain to people how this Greek immigrant family story literally took the world by storm, or at least America by storm, for like a good year and a half, 2 years. Like they owned us. Like they had us.
Yeah. Number 6, I'll give you the clue of it's an M. Night Shyamalan film.
Oh,
What do you
wouldn't be
think hits
Signs.
it?
This is after Signs.
No, it is Signs.
It's Signs? Okay.
I'll just, before you run away from it, I will just give you no, it is Signs.
Signs, okay.
Number 7,
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of not Signs. Signs is the one I was thinking that it had to be because of the time frame. I was thinking of I See Dead People. What is that one?
Oh, The Sixth Sense.
This, yeah. I was like, I'm like, can't be Sixth Sense, so it has to be Signs, right?
Yep. Yeah, we were after The Sixth Sense. Number 7, another franchise, and this was the last installment of this franchise. This is a franchise that has not returned since 2002.
Since 2002. Hasn't returned since 2002.
I'll give you a clue in that it has, you know, a lineage relationship to the Master of Disguise Dana Carvey movie that we talked about earlier. In that maybe its co-star starred with Dana Carvey in many, many things, i.e. on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, Wayne's World 2?
No,
this is way after Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, we're way after Wayne's World 2, but you're on the right track in terms of who I'm thinking about.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, this is Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me?
Nope. This would be the last of the movies.
Oh,
of the Austin
Goldmember.
Powers. Yes, Austin Powers in Goldmember.
Yeah, no, that franchise it's okay that it's not ever coming back. We're good on it.
Yeah, 213.1 million. Number 8, the second installment of a franchise from this era. It has had 2 more theatrical releases in this franchise since then. This one would have been, let's see. Trying to give you clues that won't just completely give it away. I mean, the latest. I'll give you. It had 3 installments, and then the latest installment was kind of like a soft reboot / continuation of the franchise from just a couple years ago.
The Matrix?
No. Let's go. I mean, different sci-fi franchise of the era.
That had a soft reboot.
I'll give you Rosario Dawson's in this.
That doesn't help at all. Rosario Dawson's in everything. No, Rosario Dawson back then.
I mean, she's in a couple of notable second installments of things I think of. And I'll tell you that it's not Clerks 2 that I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah, no, Clerks 2 came out when I was a junior in high school.
But this is a Something 2.
Something 2. I'm not getting it. Let's just.
I'll give you how about a Tommy Lee Jones as a.
Oh, Men in Black 2.
Men in Black 2, yeah.
Yeah.
190.4 million. Number 9 is an animated film, not from DreamWorks or Disney or Pixar. This is the first in a franchise. The production company behind this one was Blue Sky Studios. It would have many, many follow-ups until this franchise eventually kind of died a soft death after eventually being sold off to like Disney, I believe. Ray Romano.
Oh, Ice Age.
Ice Age, yeah.
Yeah.
176.3 million. And then the last one, rounding out the top 10, has already been mentioned in the like recent movies around this time, and I believe this was the Oscar winner this year.
Oscar winner for Catch Me If You Can?
No, not Catch Me If You Can.
I have no idea then.
Chicago.
There you go. Yeah,
$170.6
I would not have picked up on
million
that.
dollars, yeah. With Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones. The last big, I think it's the last big musical that won big at the Academy Awards.
I think so.
Anyway, so yeah, that was our top 10. Chicago, Ice Age, Men in Black 2, Austin Powers and Goldmember, Signs, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, and the original Spider-Man. I think the worldwide looks probably pretty similar to that because we're not into the world of Chinese releases kind of dominating stuff just yet. A couple differences. Minority Report cracks into the top 10 from that year. My Big Fat Greek Wedding fell down to number 9. Ice Age number 8, I think still, right? Is that where it ended? No, it was 9 before. Signs dropped down to number 7. Die Another Day climbs into the top 6, or top 10 at number 6. Men in Black 2 was number 2, and then, yeah, it's basically just a shuffle around of the others. Star Wars was number 4, Spider-Man number 3, Harry Potter number 2, and The Lord of the Rings, Two Towers at number 1 at the worldwide box office that year. So yeah, back to our movie here, Treasure Planet. Yeah, Treasure Planet just did not do well, notoriously at the box office there. One of their bigger bombs until the modern era, where you've got seemingly a bomb every other year.
Yeah.
But the film is a runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes, which was wild because as I was watching it, I was like, this feels like a longer movie than a 90-minute movie.
Oh, really? I felt it went by pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think part of it was just like knowing the structure of the Treasure Island, Treasure Planet story. It was like when we were, like when all of the stuff with when the montage with Jim and
Silver?
Long John Silver happening.
Yeah.
It was like, God, like I feel like we've got so much of the movie left still compared to like where that happened in the story. But anyway, in the Walt Disney Animated Studios timeline of things, we had the previous millennium rounded out with Tarzan June 18th, 1999, and Fantasia 2000 on December 17th, 1999. And we kicked off the new millennium with Dinosaur on May 19th, 2000, which is the first in a run of movies that I've not seen. I have seen the next couple, Empire's New Groove, December 15th, 2000, and Atlantis, The Lost Empire, June 15th, 2001, and Lilo and Stitch, June 21st, 2002. But like, I'll say Atlantis and Lilo and Stitch are movies that I feel like I've only seen like once in my life. Emperor's New Groove I've watched plenty. But yeah, this is very much during that era where we get here now to Treasure Planet, November 27th, 2002. Had never seen that before. Brother Bear, November 1st, 2003. Still have never seen that one. Home on the Range, April 2nd, 2004. Have not seen that. Chicken Little, November 4th, 2005. Have not seen that. Meet the Robinsons, March 30th, 2007. Have not seen that one. And Bolt, November 21st, 2008. Have not seen that one. And then the last of this being The Princess and the Frog, December 11th, 2009. I had not watched until Disney Plus, basically. Like, that was one that I just had not seen. And then we get to Tangled, November 24th, 2010. And that's basically when I start getting back into Disney stuff there in 2010. So, yeah, basically, pretty much through college, I was not really watching Disney stuff. Yeah. What's your history with Treasure Planet here?
Never seen it.
Yo, you've never seen it either?
Nope.
Okay.
This is from an era of Disney where my family was, like, my parents were... This is a period of transition where my family went from being we regularly go to the movie theater all the time kind of family to my parents were too busy. Whether it, like, my dad... my dad, especially, my folks and my family got far more involved with the church and had responsibilities and stuff to it that kept my dad from being, like, available a lot of the time.
Sure.
And so we went from being like the family that saw every Disney movie in theaters to we would see maybe the big tentpole ones if it was worth it. If like family friends said it was worth seeing.
Yeah.
It is a film that I remember vividly from the promotional material.
Sure. Yeah. Like I remember the commercials and the like blending of 2D and 3D animation, stuff like that.
The Disney specials in between shows and during commercial breaks for this one were pretty intense. They really wanted to get the technology that was being used through to people. And I remember JGL doing some promo stuff on Disney Channel for it, talking about like Jim Hawkins as a character and kind of like his approach to the character and how he was portraying him and how... it's so interesting because I think this film has such a, like, we'll get into it a little bit later, but it has such a unique look to it. and style to it that I think separates it from what you would generally consider to be typical Disney. This is also in the same era of like 2D, 3D conversion technology that we see with films like Titan AE and other stuff like that. It's this kind of sci-fi as the genre because we're using new technology to create these films. And it kind of gets lost in, it's for such a pronounced aesthetic. This is a movie that doesn't have a whole lot of substance otherwise.
I didn't bother pulling this trivia in, but there was a trivia thing that was like, this movie had a very long and troubled development cycle.
I knew that for sure.
Seemingly was because it was hitting in that era that was making the jump from 2D to 3D. And they couldn't figure out which one they wanted to do and what they wanted to like lean into. So ultimately they kind of do both, or a combination of three, because you have like a lot of 2D animation. Then you have like a character like Long John who is 2D animated, but then has like his cyborg parts are 3D animated. So that's all, a mess that they had kind of put together. And then of course the big 3D animation, like ships and stuff like that. So, this is very much kind of bridging the gap. But also one of the things I did appreciate that we'll talk about kind of in the film is like, it's at least from an era where they put care and attention into the CG, so it holds up pretty well compared to, the CG these days that are shopped out to the lowest bidder, and don't really stand the test of time. Even a couple years later, it's like, oh, that doesn't look great. This still looks pretty good for the kind of era it's from.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is like I mentioned it earlier, but the first Transformers film, they use CG busy work to distract from the fact that there's not good CG going on there. And the way that it's not actually interacting with its environment in any meaningful way. So I have a lot of feelings about CGI and how it's evolved and it's been incorporated. But I think for me, as far as like my history with this film is like, I just don't have any. Sure. This has always been one of those where it's like, I'll get around to seeing it sometime. At some point, I'll get around to seeing it. I'll give
a shout out to like Ben and Chloe, who they might have even done a Treasure Planet back when we'd had that Wannabe Film Class podcast.
They might have.
I don't recall if this was one of the ones they did, but I know both of them very much love this. Yeah, grew up during this era, so this is very much like when they were kids. These are the kinds of Disney movies that they were growing up with.
I think I just missed that, and it also had a period of like where my family was not very family-like, where we weren't really doing these big family activities anymore. Also, I'm second to youngest, and at this point, this is 2002. I'm 12. I don't want to spend all my time with my family. I'm entering those teenage years pretty soon. Actually, if I'm 12 at this point in time, categorically, I'm the worst I have ever been, according to my family. Just behavior and attitude wise, I was the worst. Like my parents kind of compared to all my bad teenage years got shoved into from like 11 to 13. It was like this. So this movie is just like not hitting at a time where I'm super involved in like wanting to go see Disney films. And it's interesting to look back at it now, like with that, through that lens of like, the time period this movie came out in versus how I watched it, which was I just threw it on Disney Plus this afternoon while, I was finishing up some work this afternoon. I just had it on, and like I know the story of Treasure Planet pretty well, to the point where I know like the differences between the novel and Muppet Treasure Island pretty well. And getting through this movie, I was like, oh well, I enjoyed a lot of their interpretations about it.
Yeah. We'll get into it.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Shout out to the part of my little brain that did spark, because yes, this was indeed That Wannabe Film Class episode 22, back when they so for those that are newer to the channel and don't remember back when we did That Wannabe Film Class, this was a podcast that Ben Bellevue and Chloe Naylor kind of shepherded back when we launched that nerdy site, and each month they would do like a theme for the month, and they would kind of dig into that movie. Each of them would pick a movie. Logan was also on the podcast with them, so he would pick a third movie, and then like the fourth week of the month, they would bring on a guest to pick a movie in that theme. This was in the 42069 month was the theme of that month, and what that amounted to, I believe it was April of 2020.
Yeah.
So early pandemic right now. But the theme of the 42069 month was movies with a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. And apparently this was one of them. So yes, Chloe picked this one and talked.
Jim Hawkins. Jim Hawkins just screams Chloe crush.
I think Cyborg John.
That might be out. You might actually be right. More right about
more
that.
Chloe's cup of tea. But anyway,
that's fair. I think you might be right about that.
Shout out to Ben and Chloe for that wannabe film class. Our roll call here. The directors were the directing duo of Ron Clements and John Musker, who had previously directed The Great Mouse Detective, The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, and then Treasure Planet here, and they would go on to direct The Princess and the Frog and Moana. So yeah, they were very much of that, like, pre-golden re-renaissance of Disney into the Disney Renaissance, and then kind of out of, and then into the new, era of Disney stuff. Our writers, of course, Robert Louis Stevenson, of course, based on the novel Treasure Island. But Ron Clements and John Musker also did the screenplay and the animation story on this, having also previously worked on The Black Cauldron, Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules, Treasure Planet, Princess and the Frog, and Moana. So they were very much like writers, directors of those things, as kind of animators sometimes are. Then we also have a screenplay credit by Rob Edwards, who had done a couple episodes of Full House, 7 episodes of In Living Color, and 3 episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Then he would do Treasure Planet, and then after Treasure Planet, he would go on to do The Princess and the Frog, as well as recently Captain America: Brave New World. Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio are also credited with an animation story by credit, having previously worked on Aladdin, Godzilla, the 1998 one, Mask of Zorro, Small Soldiers, The Road to El Dorado, Shrek, Treasure Planet here, Pirates of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Weirdly, Ted Elliott does not come back for Dead Men Tell No Tales, but Terry Rossio does. The Legend of Zorro. They also work on National Treasure Book of Secrets. And then Terry Rossio has also continued back with Godzilla, having done Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. Our cast of characters here, as you mentioned, Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Jim Hawkins, our young protagonist hero, who we, I believe, probably last visited in Angels in the Outfield. He's also in 10 Things I Hate About You, Third Rock from the Sun, Treasure Planet here. After Treasure Planet, he would go on to do things like 500 Days of Summer, G.I. Joe, The Rise of Cobra, Inception, The Dark Knight Rises, Looper, Don John, and The Glass Onion, which I call out because you know this. Mm-hmm. You recall who he plays in The Glass Onion, Cameron?
He's the bong...
The Hourly Dong.
Dong, yeah.
Is what he is credited as, yes. Brian Murray plays John Silver here, with credits going back to 1959, including The League of Gentlemen, Twelfth Night or What You Will, and Treasure Planet. Very much like British actor of kind of that ilk. Didn't really ever make like mainstream success in terms of kind of breakout hit or anything like that. But probably worked pretty regularly as a theater and film actor in the UK. David Hyde Pierce, of course, here as Dr. Doppler, having been in projects like Frasier and A Bug's Life leading up to this, as well as a Wet Hot American Summer, I guess, happened probably right before this. And then Hellboy would be one of his big films after this. Emma Thompson as Captain Amelia, in projects like Sense and Sensibility, Much Ado About Nothing, the Harry Potter films, Nanny McPhee, Stranger Than Fiction, Men in Black 3, and Men in Black International being the other one that I was referencing in that clue earlier. She's also in Brave and Saving Mr. Banks, and she was in the 2017 Beauty and the Beast live-action film as Mrs. Potts. Martin Short as our Ben Gunn character, Ben, the android. Of course, Martin Short in projects like Three Amigos, Saturday Night Live, Inner Space, Father of the Bride, The Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause, and currently can be seen in the Only Murders in the Building series. Laurie Metcalf as Sarah Hawkins, Jim's mom. Of course, long tenured on Roseanne and The Connors. She's also in the Toy Story series. Do you know who she plays in Toy Story, Cameron? She's been in all 4 of the movies.
Oh.
What do you think about it? She's also in The Big Bang Theory, and she's an Academy Award nominee for Lady Bird.
She's the mom.
She's Andy's mom, yes.
Yeah, she's Andy's mom. Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I know the voice. It's like, it's not like, what toy is it? What toy is it? What toy is it? It's like, it's not a toy. It's Andy's mom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andy's mom, indeed. Yep. Roscoe Lee Brown as Mr. Arrow, having been in projects like The Cowboys, Logan's Run, and Oliver and Company, another forgotten Disney film of the 80s. Michael Wincott as Scroop was in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and the Three Musketeers film of this era with like Kiefer Sutherland and who else is in that? Chris O'Donnell is D'Artagnan in that one. And he was also in The Crow. Dane A. Davis is credited here as Morph. He's mostly a sound designer, and aside from Morph, he also played Morph in the video game tie-in, as well as the Treasure Planet read-along DVD, whatever that was. And then his only other acting credit was the Animatrix. He was in the Animatrix project. A few things there. Captain Nathaniel Flint is played by Peter Cullen, who, of course, going back to Transformers, Optimus Prime of the Transformers series. And Tony Jay is the narrator of the story that young Jim is reading, with credits going back to 1968, including Twins, the 1991 animated Beauty and the Beast. He is the Undertaker, whatever,
Yes.
like Lahar or something. Yeah. He's also, of course, Count Frollo in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He's also in.
Oh, he wasn't the Undertaker. He was the asylum guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the old creepy guy.
Yes.
I just don't remember the movie, the animated film, well enough to remember if that guy was an Undertaker or asylum person.
Totally fine.
Tony Jay also in the first Baldur's Gate game, Dark Alliance, and it was Magneto in the X-Men Legends game. So shout out to him. And when I heard him, I was like, "Is that the voice of the ghost host from the Haunted Mansion ride?" Because that's very much that voice. He has played the ghost host in various like Disney property or products, but he is not the actual ride voice. Anyway, some trivia here. Human characters are hand-drawn, as we touched on earlier. Long John Silver's cyborg leg, arm, eye, and the robot Ben are flat-rendered CGI, and the ship was created using Disney's, quote, deep canvas process. In some scenes, all 3 types of animations are appearing simultaneously. The name of the ship, the RLS Legacy, is a reference to the book's author, Robert Louis Stevenson. When Jim and Dr. Doppler arrive at the spaceport, they get directions from 2 characters using a ladder. These are depictions of the directors John Musker at the top of the ladder and Ron Clements holding the bottom of the ladder. A planned sequel was canceled due to the movie's just abysmal failure at the box office. And when John Lasseter was appointed CEO of Walt Disney Animation Studios, his first task was to cancel all the sequels and television shows that were in the works. In the proposed sequel treatment, Jim Hawkins and Kate, his love interest and a classmate at the Royal Interstellar Academy, must team up with Long John Silver to stop the villainous Ironbeard from freeing the inmates of Botany Bay Prison Asteroid. Willem Dafoe was set to voice Ironbeard.
Oh, okay. I'm good without that.
Yeah. This was Disney's 3rd adaptation of the book Treasure Island after the 1950 Treasure Island film and Muppet Treasure Island from 1996. And then at the end of the movie, Dr. Doppler and Captain Amelia, 2 aliens, got together and had children. A few lines were cut from the movie that revealed that Dr. Doppler, the male alien, actually gave birth to the children. Disney ordered lines cut because they thought males giving birth, even male aliens, was too risque for a children's movie. So there you go.
Welcome to 2025, bitches.
Yep. So what did you think, Cam? How does this one hold up for you? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, as somebody who never really saw it before, I think the movie, and this is where I kind of broached the topic earlier, aesthetically, this movie holds up extremely well. Normally when you hear about people Frankensteining different like planes of animation, it normally doesn't go well. To the aforementioned Titan AE as an example. This movie has like the ships look gorgeous. The use of the 3D animation with Long John Silver's 2D animation, the way it worked, like it worked because you were meant to feel like his cybernetics were out of place. Aesthetically, he was meant to look off-putting and like upsetting. For that reason, it works out really well. And everything they did otherwise with the kind of animated 2D stuff was very much like extremely well detailed well detailed, but just enough to give it some depth without it being too busy. Because I think if your 2D animation is to such a detailed degree, it will take away from your 3D animation. And I think they really strike a really good balance. But one of the most impressive things I found was the way they were able to move 2D characters across a 3D plane, considering this is 2002. Mm-hmm. In the chase scene when they're escaping from the ship, after, Long John figures out that Jim overheard his talk of mutiny. When that happens, they're running through the bowels of the ship. The bowels of the ship are completely 3D. And to see these 2D characters kind of like bump into the 3D objects and like move around them, it's just really damn good 2D animation working on that third dimensional plane. And it just shows really great art direction, really great animation direction that they just absolutely do such a phenomenal job with. That I was really blown away by it. I was like, okay, I see why people are drawn to this film. Another thing they do about it is the way the technology works. They're playing with sail technology, but they're giving it that sci-fi oomph, that boost, that it's classic looking ships. Even his sun skimmer that he rides at the beginning of the movie, is very much pulled into it from a very technical, but very basic approach to it. It's a little mini boat with a sun thing on it that lets it kind of like skim through the air.
I mean, it's like, it was windsurfing. It was the opening sequence there was like extreme sports 2002, yes. Like the quintessential, like, oh, I get why, young Ben and young Chloe absolutely would have loved this character and like, cause he's moody. One of the trivia things was like, he has a leather jacket through, the first half of the movie because they wanted to make him cool.
It's everything that a 15-year-old thinks is cool.
Yeah.
And that's what he's trying to be.
His theme is by the guy that does the Goo Goo Dolls songs. I forget the performer's name. And it's not the Goo Goo Dolls. It is like the lead singer of the Goo Goo Dolls, but is absolutely like, oh, this is the guy from the Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah.
This is basically Iris again. So yeah, like that was funny to me. This being my first time watching it as well, I appreciated like the touchstones that you can see to the original Treasure Island story, and I like how I liked the twists that they put on it of Long John Silver, instead of just having a peg leg, he's a cyborg, and that's his pirate kind of thing. Instead of having a parrot, he's got morph. Like weird little elements like that. The one of the things that I think is fascinating is less than a year later, everybody's gonna love pirate stuff because Pirates of the Caribbean blows up. Summer of 2003, and so that so much of that is because everybody's enamored by Johnny Depp's performance of Jack Sparrow kind of thing. But also, like, it was a fun swashbuckling adventure here with, like, real performances. This is interesting in that, like, oh, it's animated swashbuckling and it's animated pirate thing. So maybe it's, like, setting the table for that. But it's also sci-fi. And, it's I think, the mashing of those two that doesn't quite... that did not quite connect with, the target audience of kids. It's like, oh, cool, it's space plus pirates... But kids of that age aren't weren't like pirates weren't a thing, that they were, that had been like, oh, everything is pirates, during that,
Oh,
during
100%,
the 90s and 2000s. It's so it is the like, oh, the cool thing is that he's out there doing this, like, surfing through giant industrial, wastes and stuff like that. Yeah. Just I thought that timing was fascinating, that like this bombs, but Disney's next pirate thing, 9 months later, goes through the roof and gets an Oscar nomination and all this kind of stuff.
I also think that's just a general quality. Like there's something that Pirates of the Caribbean, like we reviewed that for that, we went through that for that T Plus show. Like that original film captures everything that makes a pirate, like pirates, good and interesting and fun. And this, like Treasure Planet as a book, doesn't do that too much. Because your pirates are your bad guys. It's much more about the adventure of treasure hunting and kind of the, like, when everybody's out to grave rob, nobody's really in the moral right of it. And it's just a very fascinating look at, how, and I think this film does a great job of, I think, really solidifying the bond between, Long John Silver and Jim. I think that they do a really, maybe like, and this is just my opinion, I like that they do that. In something like Muppet Treasure Island, he's much too conniving. Like, there's a soft spot there for him for sure, but he always comes off as far more conniving because that's Tim Curry. He literally played Satan, not the devil and Legendary. But like this is it's Tim Curry, so it's going to come off more malevolent. And I think that it did a good job of translating that kind of complicated relationship from, a man who'd always been on his own, who finally has somebody who looks up to him and not out of fear, but out of admiration. And a young man who has no father figure in his life, or in the actual novel, an orphan, somebody who has no family or parents. And so that idea of, like, especially at the very end, I think this one does a great job of, because in Muppet Treasure Island, it's an example of Jim spots him as he's escaping, and he can call the whistle to but he lets him go. In the original novel and everything else, Jim does help him escape, and Long John's like, "Come with me," and Jim says no, turns down the life of piracy, and that's incorporated here, and I think it's done very beautifully here, but. There is just such a level of there's such an interesting level of the complicated relationship that's showcased here in this film that is really the driving heart of the movie. It's not especially complex. It's not as this is a how many hundreds of year old book that's been brought through the ages, and modernized time and time again. So it's not necessarily considered novel or new. But I think it's done extremely well here. I think they nailed that. I think where the problem that this film has is that Treasure Planet is a classic tale, and it's one that by the time this movie came out, Disney had already produced two of them. One Muppets, one old from the 1950s. And they're not the only ones that have done Treasure Island. Treasure Island has been done numerous times.
I remember a McDonald's themed Treasure Island VHS growing up that was like the Hamburglar and the McNugget things, the Fry Guys and whatnot. It's been done to death. I don't know. So I was looking at it because I don't think in the original novel Jim actually helps Silver escape. I think Silver just kind of gets away. But
I thought he did. I might be misremembering.
In the 1950 Disney film, that's an element that Jim helps him kind of with the longboat, and then also obviously in the Muppet Treasure Island. So that's it. That's where
maybe I'm misremembering.
It's a blur for me too. Of it's been 30 years since I read the book for a book report in elementary school. So I don't remember the specifics. Just looking at a quick Wikipedia thing, it's kind of they're taking Long John as prisoner, but at the first port of call, he escapes, and it doesn't say like according to the Wikipedia thing, it's not saying that Jim helps him escape. It's Jim basically
Yeah.
refuses to ever go back to the island because of it's a cursed treasure kind of thing. But so yeah, it's a whatever the case, it I think it is a more interesting ending, which is why I think it gets used so much.
Probably,
you,
yeah.
You have that like
The moral complication
compassion,
of it. Yeah.
and that camaraderie that has happened. I was actually surprised in this that, like in Muppet Treasure Island, being like the one I'm certainly the most familiar with, like the Tim Curry thing is he's always trying to be buddy with Jim. And that turns into like a real affection for him. Whereas in this, like Long John is a dick, and is just being a jerk to Jim for a good chunk. So it didn't quite make sense when he has like the emotional turn. But they give us the whole montage that like helps solidify that and build up the relationship between the two of them. So it's I think it's because it happens in a montage with a Not Goo Goo Dolls song playing that felt like it gets rushed for me, and I don't actually get the moments that warranted or justify it. But I did appreciate that like by the end of things. That Jim in this is also like, hey, I'm not gonna help you, but I'm also not gonna turn you in because I'm gonna chart my own course. And we had that nice moment of Long John giving Jim the gems to basically rebuild the inn for his mom kind of thing. So the little bit that he saved, here you go, I'm giving it to you instead. The pirate life of adventure is the thing that really calls to me. I'm going to go, I'm not made for prison. I'm going to go, flee and that kind of thing. So,
yeah. I think also in regards to that, you have that moment where, was it Scoop is his name? What's the Scroop later mocks Long John when he said it, but he says, you're like a brilliant son. Like, and I'm just like wanting just to like feel a glimmer of your light. Like there's something very much like maybe it's because like I'm old enough now that like they're not my children, but my nieces and nephews and other kids that have been impactful in my life. They like, I kind of get that. Like you're like, I'm not your parent, but all I want to do is see you succeed because somehow the success that you have, like it's reflected off of you. And like, I feel a sense of accomplishment, even though I'm not accomplishing something. I'm feeling this, like you have, I held you when you were a baby and now you're an adult making things happen in your life. And like, there's something about that's very like, it's like a pseudo nurturing feeling that you feel. But it was very interesting. I found that line and that delivery very beautiful. In that moment, because it's when Jim needs it the most, when he thinks that he's let someone die. And he reacts to it as a teenager. What he like, he kind of makes it about him in that moment. Like, what about me? Like, whatever I think I'm gonna screw up. It's like, Jim, you think you led your inaction or you're bad at this led to the death of another human being. It's okay for you to be, and like, Long John's like, it's okay for you to feel bad about this. It was a bad and sad thing that happened. But like, you can't let this define the rest of your life. You need to you will be that the way you will be the person that you think you are. Like, you're just not there yet. But you will get there. And those lines that he gives, and it's so great because it's, it's done so well. Also, this is where I love the sci-fi aspect of it. It's like, is it a storm? No, it's a goddamn supernova turned into a black hole, and it's crazy and awesome. And I'm loving this. Mm-hmm. I'm loving it. We get to see some like very fun like ship action going on here.
That Star Trek is gonna do. J.J. Abrams is gonna steal when the Star Trek gets rebooted in a couple of years.
Absolutely, and he's gonna be like, nobody saw Treasure Planet. Nobody knows that I stole this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the sci-fi aspect of it, like I can appreciate the mashup of piracy and sci-fi because I enjoy both of those vibes, and I think they can play like I'm always a fan of like the juxtaposition of like, oh, this is a very old timey thing, mixed with like the futuristic kind of stuff in the same way that like, oh, let's do a samurai movie with this with in space and laser swords, and hey, there you got Star Wars, or the let's do the Hateful Eight in space in Star Wars, and you got Solo or something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely like fun to mash up those different worlds to a degree. Like one of the things that I thought about as I was watching this, I was like, oh, there's like the fact that they have a whole alien species that is like flatulent.
Yeah.
And like they just speak in farts. I was like, this is beneath you, Disney. This is something
that's some real DreamWorks shit right there.
Yeah, I was like, this is something I would expect from a DreamWorks movie, not a Disney movie. So that was disappointing. And then I didn't like the morph of it all. I was like, that feels like a weird little like get out of jail free card that you can just kind of do. You can cheat whatever you want to cheat with, like him being able to like imitate the other characters and just be very small versions of the other characters, or him being able to imitate the treasure orb itself. Just a weird little thing. And then his allegiance, it's like, why is he suddenly on Jim's side if he's like one of Long John's guys?
Yeah.
To the point that like Long John basically is like, go be with him, go look after him, Morph. I need you. Like it's a weird little, I don't know. It's a weird little like pet. Like they make him Jim's pet. In a movie that I feel like didn't really need Jim to have a pet, and like I never get the sense that like Jim is really looking out for Morph. So yeah,
I mean, do you have to look out for Morph? Morph's kind of like this, like let's talk about the Morph of it all. It
does seem to be
Morph,
like invulnerable.
Yeah,
too.
Morph is invulnerable and can't be killed. Apparently, like it's it's a whole thing.
It was just a weird little dynamic. It's like I appreciate it as like, hey, they're not gonna do like Polly want a cracker on the shoulder, but I think Lobster Polly from Muppet Treasure Island is a better spin on that than Morph here. And then and this is largely just because Martin Short just very quickly and very easily grates on me. I absolutely hate Ben. Ben is so annoying in this, and because he's just doing over obnoxious Martin Short stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, nope, I don't like this at all. None of this is good. Was not a fan of that. Of like, all like, hey, we need to be quiet. You got it, buddy. And just be, oh my God, shut up.
I kind of figured already that Ben wasn't your favorite character.
Yeah.
Like I could have picked that up pretty quickly. So not surprised.
Mm-hmm. I did like the Doppler and Captain like dynamic that we get. As the man of science versus the woman of action kind of.
Yeah. I think their romance worked okay.
It was fun. Yeah. I mean, like David Hyde Pierce is always fun, and I like he has like a, dang it, Jim, I'm a doctor, but a doctor with a doctorate kind of like.
Yeah.
It means nothing. I like that as a nod to the iconic Star Trek, line as well of like, dang it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a blah, blah, blah. But also just like David Hyde Pierce, very fun.
Here's the thing. You could tell that the act, especially Emma Thompson was just like chewing this script up. Just like with her enthusiasm behind it. Like she was killing it. I don't think there's like a bad, you don't like Martin Short. So like that, like your mileage varies greatly on Martin Short compared to most people. But I think for the character they wanted for that was a Martin Short character.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if anybody could have played that role that would have made you happy unless they completely changed the character. But I don't think there's a bad performance out of any of them. I think that the performances are really solid throughout the entire movie. Overall, like I think that this is just like it's an okay movie. Like, oh, this is a 69% Rotten Tomatoes score. okay, this feels like, yeah, it feels like it makes sense. Like, the things that are really amazing about it aren't going to save this movie from the fact that it's a very like shallow story. Like, it has some very good moments that are like heartfelt and emotional, but they're not deep. They're not like introspective. But it doesn't, but also on that same point, it doesn't have to be. This is a fun take on Treasure Island, a story that has been told 1,000 different ways, and they told it in a different way. And it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Cool little action too. The sequence with the center of the planet booby trapped kind of thing.
Yeah.
At the end of the film. And Jim realizing he can, use the portal to get them back to, a safe port in the storm kind of thing. Fun action behind that. And like everybody working together, Jim, Long John, and like the good guys, while all the baddies, suffer and fall.
I will also point out that it's really important for the plot of the arc of this movie, for Jim's arc especially, that everybody trusts him at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He has continually shown he is capable and reliable, which is the one thing that he wasn't at the beginning of the movie. Like everybody has a proper arc through a movie. Like, on paper, this movie works really, really well.
Yep.
In practice, it works pretty good. It's just, it doesn't help that the movies that came before this one are just like the banger of bangers when it comes to like the Disney canon. Like anything near the gravitational pull of the Disney Renaissance will always suffer. I feel.
Yeah. Like the Lilo and Stitch being the one right before this, I think like Lilo and Stitch much more fondly remembered today, especially we were recording this basically the night that the live action Lilo and Stitch is returning to theaters kind of thing.
The movie, when they announced it, I was like, oh, I get why Trevor feels this way about these movies.
Yeah.
I too don't think this movie should exist.
But like Lilo and Stitch does have its its diehard fan base.
Oh yeah.
But it didn't set the world on fire back when it launched here. It's very much one like a Goofy movie that kind of had that cult following after the fact, and it also benefited from like the TV shows and stuff that came after for Lilo and Stitch. Atlantis: The Lost Empire, another one that's like a cult classic to a generation of people. Emperor's New Groove, the same kind of thing. But yeah, this very much is in this experimental era of Disney that is kind of the like black hole of Disney films until you get back to Princess and the Frog and Tangled and obviously Frozen then kind of comes in after that, and Moana and kind of the new modern era of Disney stuff. But yeah, this Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt run of 2002 through 2008 is when Pixar came in and was cleaning up and doing all of the heavy lifting for Disney on the animated side of things. So it will take a while before Disney kind of returns to its kind of like heyday, I would say. And especially this one having like I can see. Like this one, I believe from some of the trivia I was seeing, like started development back before Hercules. And so it strikes me as like, oh, that makes sense because, it's trying to cash in on the same kind of magic of the Disney Renaissance of like, let's take these classic fairy tale stories that, have an established story and let's put Disney magic into it. And let's tell that. And this is very much what this is trying to do. But it also, because of like the long development cycle that it has and the like not knowing what it wants to be, it kind of veers away from Disney magic into Disney experimentation and like, let's play with the CG and stuff. It's not full CG like Dinosaur was, and Dinosaur did not do well because Disney was not the place for that just yet kind of thing.
And also, Dinosaur just wasn't it was so much more of a concept than an actual film.
Mm-hmm. Dinosaur. It's one I've never watched, But from what I recall in terms of like the ads and what I've seen in clips and stuff like that, it's like, oh, this is the the PS2 proof of concept Final Fantasy VII trailer
Yes.
or something, or the PS3 trailer for Final Fantasy VII, that they wouldn't actually do anything with for another 20 years. So yeah, it's dinosaur. It's Disney trying something too ambitiously and just being like, well, we've probably put too much money into this. We gotta just put it out and see whatever we can recoup back, and we'll go to bat. We'll try again down the road.
Yeah.
It was interesting because especially like some of the character designs is on like in the aliens, like Dr. Doppler reminds me so like he is. I'm like, oh, that's yeah. It makes total sense that the people that did this movie also did The Great Mouse Detective.
Yes,
because he looks absolutely ripped out of Great Mouse Detective, and just let's make him a little bit of an alien.
Same thing with Long John. Yeah, Long John is like, I'm like, what kind of animal is this? And I look at him, I was like, oh, he's supposed to be like a bear alien. I was like, yeah, no, something that like out of The Great Mouse Detective, 100% with the kind of anthropomorphic designs for animals on there. Yeah. Oh, and of course the captain as well. Like all of the animal-based aliens, 100% look like they're from that.
Indeed. Anyway, so yeah, I think that's all I got. Any final thoughts you want to shout out before we dive into the extra credit or the report card rather?
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, report card we grade from A+ to F. What do you want to give Treasure Planet here?
Honestly, this has got like C+, B- vibes for me. I think I'm gonna give it a B-, give it that kind of like that little extra push, little extra oomph. I think on a technical scale, this film like really holds up really well. Like I mentioned earlier, like the way that they are able to interstitching is what they call that program that they use, like the animation style they used for it.
Deep Canvas.
Deep Canvas, yeah. The way they use that and the way that they were able to make these three planes of existence work the way that they do is really, really phenomenal. But like they don't do much of a difference with the Treasure Island formula. They do nothing, and this is the thing, as beautiful as the film I'm sure was at the time and the way that it's held up over time, it does not lift up the basic Treasure Island story that they're doing by much. I think they do enough to make it different than others, but like they're not breaking the mold, so to speak, when it comes to the storytelling and the narrative that they're using. So
yeah, I think that just made me realize the thing I think that really stands out for me as why this doesn't click in the way that like a Pirates of the Caribbean does, or even a Muppets Treasure Island, is pirates are the most fun when they are tactile and tangible. And animated pirates just don't have that same magic of sword fighting and swashbuckling. You can do incredible animation with them, but it doesn't have that same fun feel as a couple people clanging swords, against one another. So I think that's why this one just misses the mark for me on that front. It's just not fun to be an animated pirate compared to a live action pirate
or a Muppet pirate
or a Muppet pirate fighting a live action pirate, because even a Muppet pirate is still a tactile thing.
Yeah. And
you have Kermit, swashbuckling against Long John Silver and whatnot. It's a straight C for me. Nothing particularly egregious apart from the Martin Short of it. But he's absolutely doing what the film is asking him to do. I get it.
Yeah.
Like that and the Flatula, alien. It's like, okay, those are the weakest elements of it. But, that's 5 minutes of screen time total kind of thing. Like, as annoying as Ben is not in a ton of this movie.
And also he stops being super annoying when they get his memory core back in.
Yeah, kind of.
Sorry. The character's supposed to be less annoying when he gets his memory core back in. You just do not vibe with Ben Short. It's okay.
Martin Short.
Martin Short. What did I say? Ben Short? Well,
yeah.
Weird.
Martin
Short played
the character's Ben.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
Straight C for me. Extra credit, other suggestions if you like this. Oddly, there were a couple moments in here where I was like, this movie reminds me of Strange World from a couple years back.
Yeah.
Like, the alien world designs
Yes.
had a very Strange World feel to them. So Strange World is one of the things that is recommended, as well as Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Meet the Robinsons, Mars Needs Moms, Dinosaur, Brother Bear, The Lion King, the animated one, and then weirdly, the live-action Aladdin, 2019's Aladdin. I don't know why that one got recommended instead of the animated one. Again, because the people that directed and wrote the animated Aladdin. So weird that they wanted to really promote the 2019 one, but whatever. Extracurriculars. What else you watching on Disney Plus there, Cam? I know right before we started watching this, or before we started talking about this, we watched Doctor Who.
Yep. So Doctor Who's what I'm watching on it right now. I'm thinking I might start watching Shogun pretty soon in the next couple weeks. Cool. It's been on my bucket list of shows to get to. And that's one that was highly rated. A lot of people talked highly about it. I just haven't gotten around to sitting down for like hour-long drama period pieces yet. Sure. I'm not really in that vibe, but hey, like my historical period, hot boy summer might just be here. We don't know. We'll see.
Did you ever go back and watch Rogue One after Andor last week?
I did, yes.
You did? Yeah.
It was very, very good.
Yeah. So in addition to Doctor Who, I also have been watching more of the Light and Magic docuseries.
Nice.
So yeah, enjoying that and just kind of the behind the scenes stories about, that basically those are behind the scenes of making of the prequels. And the second episode of Light and Magic starts out really dark because the first episode of season 2 is all about, hey, we're going to make the prequels. The technology is finally here. We can do a fully CG character of Jar Jar. And episode 2 has like a talking head of Ahmed Best basically saying like, I stood on the Brooklyn Bridge and was ready to jump and show them what they've done to me and what they did. And like a gust of wind kind of blows him back and basically gets like jars him back. And he's like, he gets scared by it. And he's like, well, that's good because that means I want to live. I mean, like I was afraid of dying. I don't want to die in this movie. But it's like, it's a very intense story.
That's straight ripped out of his book.
Yeah.
Because I know that story. That's from his book. I didn't know that he did a talking head of that though. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was like, oh, they went there. So yeah, it's fascinating stuff about that. But yeah, that is going to do it for this week's episode of That D Plus Show. I forgot to check in with you, Cameron, before we started recording, but do you have an idea of what you want to try and do for next week's episode? We touched on Doctor Who's not going to be quite done yet because of their release schedule. They drop on Saturdays, so we're still like the penultimate episode is going to drop this weekend, and then the final episode will drop after we've already recorded next week's show. So do you have anything you want to try and do for next week's episode? Have I vamped long enough for you to find something?
You have vamped, I believe, sufficiently. Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Let's do it.
You do want to do Atlantis?
Let's do Atlantis.
All right, yeah.
Let's do Atlantis. Let's wrap up this era of Disney for That D Plus Show.
All right. Atlantis: The Lost Empire it is. Dive into some... like another one of the trivia things was like, they almost had Michael J. Fox come in and do Jim Hawkins here. It's like, well, no, we're not going to do that because we've already got him from Milo. So, like, yeah, it would have been weird to have him be the voice of both of these roles. But yes, so we'll do Atlantis: The Lost Empire. That'll be an interesting one to go back to. Because I remember that one has, like, such a fun cast of characters.
Yeah.
They're all very, racial stereotype kind of characters, so it'll be interesting to see how it holds up.
National stereotypes, for sure.
Yes, nationalistic stereotypes.
Yep.
Yeah,
most of those people are white. So
true. Yes, yeah. I'm thinking of like, the super French guy,
the French
French
dirt
mole,
expert, the
demolitions expert,
the Italian demolitions expert. Yeah.
All right, yeah, Atlantis, The Lost Empire. We'll do that for next week. Well, thank you, Cam, for joining me to talk all about Treasure Planet here, and shout out to our friends over from That Wannabe Film Cast, our film class, Ben and Chloe from back in the day. 5 years ago, 5+ years ago when they talked about it. You follow Cameron at revcabot.bsky.social. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at 61 Indie. Today they just finished up one of their showcases. It's this, I believe it's the second of the year's indie showcase for them. Maybe it's the first. I can't remember.
Maybe I forget their schedule. Yeah.
It's usually after a PAX, so actually I think this is the first one of the year. Next one will be after PAX West later in the year. But yeah, they did a phenomenal job. The showcase absolutely killed it today. They did phenomenal. I'm sure,
Their big reveal announcement that they're basically starting a publishing arm.
Yep.
Six One Publishing.
61 Publishing. So shout out to 61 Publishing as well. Just massive. The amount of work that goes into putting that showcase together and the fact that they do it, I'm just going to say better than anybody else, just really shows like the effort and the work they've put into to cultivating the indie scene and the credibility within that indie scene to be respected enough to be trusted with these people who it's their life's work basically that they're showing off to the world. And it's a awesome thing to see people who we know are so passionate about this part of that industry. I know this is a little bit more of like a That Nerdy Site style shout out, but here it is. Yeah. So that's mine.
Absolutely. No. Much love to Mike and Kyle and everybody else over at 61 Indie. I wasn't able to watch the full showcase because I basically grabbed it in between meetings at work. But yeah, seeing what I did see, there was that's there's some cool things in there. Love that they get the tie-ins with your IGNs, with Steam, having a Steam kind of showcase for it. And then, it's the big news coming out of it being their publishing side of things. Very cool stuff. So absolutely love all the best for them and love and success for them. And hey, yeah, they've been on that D Plus show. They were on the Blank Check episode, which was again one of the last episodes we did before everything started shutting down in the pandemic.
Yeah,
back when we actually had guests and stuff. Yeah, they came and did Blank Check, I believe, right after PAX 2020.
It sounds about right.
Yeah. Anyway, you follow me over at trevorjstarkey.bsky.social. In addition to our friends over at 61 Indie, I will shout out our That Nerdy Site show this last week. That was our friend Ari joining us for a Blueprints spoiler cast, which was a ton of fun. Cameron kind of letting us gush and also kind of driving the conversation with the questions for Ari and I. Ari, who has since platinumed the game and finished everything. I have since had a whirlwind of an experience where in that episode, Ari describes a PlayStation bug that I thought I had escaped. Turned out I had not escaped it, where basically after a day 100, your game won't save anymore. So you'll play through, you might make it to, my game froze at day 103. So I would play up to day 109 or something like that. But then if I turn the game off and then come back in, my save is sitting back there at day 103. And what I later found out was that also went for any new saves. And Ari mentions that on the episode, but I finally got my day one run within 1 hour. So I knocked off the 2 trophies that I get for that. And then part of the mechanic of the game is the game recognizes that you can't have all of the trophies in one save file. So it introduces through its own mechanics a way for you to transfer trophies from one profile to another. And I did that to get everything on this day one profile. And then I closed the game out and I reopened it again. And that day one profile was completely gone. So, and all I had was my day 103 profile. They have now patched that today. They released a patch that fixes the save issue. It won't restore anything that has been lost, but they are also currently working on an update, a new way to import your trophy data from trophies that you actually have on your console's achievement system. So the ideal is they will be able to recognize that I have popped those trophies and I can import them into the game as opposed to having to try and do that all over again. If I ultimately want to try and go for that platinum. Anyway, A big old long tangent. It was a ton of fun just gushing about blueprints with Ari. And wonderful having her back on a podcast for the first time since like July, I think, of last year. Is what
I
she
think
said.
so, yeah.
She was a wonderful guest. Wonderful to catch up with her. And sending her all the love. You follow all of us over at That Nerdy Site or go to thatnerdysite.com for all the latest from us. Once again, if you like what you heard, please like, rate, review, subscribe, share the podcast with your friends, all that fun stuff. Thank you for joining us. As always, stay nerdy, be good to each other, and class dismissed.